Looks like people are coming in. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to our masterclass. I can see everybody joining in. And as you come in, if you wouldn't mind just putting in the chat where you're joining us from, it's always fun to see. And anything you want to say in the chat box, it's fun to hear from you. We're super excited. We had well over 200 people register for this masterclass today. We'll see. Hi from Lansing, Michigan. I'm Jeannie. I'm the founder of Beauty Heroes, and I am in our Northern California store, as you can see in the Beauty Heroes store. And Michelle is in Southern California, and we're super excited to see you all tonight. So hi from Milwaukee, Palo Alto, Novato, New Mexico. Nice to see you, Nisha from Novato.
Oh my gosh,
Local.
someone from Wales at 1 a.m. Thank you for staying up.
Hi, Louise. Okay, we're gonna just give you all a minute to join in and put a note in the chat box where you're joining us from. We're really excited. And then we're gonna dive into this masterclass with Michelle Ranavat, who's looking radiant tonight.
Thank you.
Can you tell me about the top you're wearing? It looks like it's really special.
Yes, no, it's really, it's actually part of my uniform repertoire. I have a couple of things that I feel really kind of embody the mood of the brand. And so I tend to like gravitate towards them anytime I'm doing like a master class or something fun. So this is actually just from Zara, and it's kind of like a suit type situation. But I always think it just gives me this, like, I just feel relaxed, almost like a robe, even though it's not a robe. So it's like a little more professional, but still kind of in that vibe.
Yeah, totally. It's so like, it feels so, Ranavat and like you. I remember when you were here a little over a year ago and we set up and we did high tea right in the store, and you, I think you were wearing a bright yellow, beautiful, kind of like turmeric color. Yeah. So I think everybody's joined in. So we're going to get started. I'm just going to, set the tone and then turn this over to Michelle. I just want to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to what we're creating. We are so excited to be featuring Ranavat. We've been on this journey with Michelle since the very beginning and feel really close to this brand, and really excited to introduce a new product launched this month through our Beauty Heroes Discovery. I don't know if everybody received it. You definitely don't have to have our Beauty Heroes Ranavat Discovery to enjoy this class. You don't have to have any Ranavat products. We are really just here to share. You probably do if you're joining this class. So, definitely get them. I've got my Kansa Wand here. I've got my Mighty Majesty and this month's hero product, Imperial Glow. And if you've got them, grab them. If you, and if you don't, just grab your hero products and join along. And if you've got a Kansa Wand, post it in the comments. I just want to see how many people have a Kansa Wand. I really credit you, Michelle, before, this is a really sort of ancient traditional tool. And I've been around for a long time in the spa industry and the beauty space, and I'd never heard of the Kansa Wand before. And I really credit you with sort of bringing this forward into the modern beauty space. Now you can see Kansa Wands, but so excited to have you share this tonight. So we're really excited. Michelle Ranavat is just an incredible founder. She's got a background in science, really an upbringing in Ayurveda. And I really enjoyed spending the evening with you and your mom making chai the other night.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
That was awesome. And she has created this range with some beautiful traditional ingredients that are from really incredibly sourced and have special extraction methods, and all of those things really excite me. And I think they're what make the quality of your products so special. So I'm excited to dive in. What do you want to say to just kick us off?
Well, first of all, I mean, I've been looking forward to this all month since we've scheduled it. I think I really get a lot of energy from you guys, just the way that you connect with the products. I mean, whether you've been exposed to Ayurveda, wellness, or are just discovering it for the first time. I mean, that makes me really happy to share, to create these moments and really just provide education and ways that maybe we can all, come together and add a little bit of royalty into our lives.
That's a great kickoff because I actually wanted to really ask you about that. I feel like since we first started talking, the sort of tagline and sentiment and emotion of claim your crown and creating your royal ritual has always that is not like a marketing strategy for you or a tagline. That is really what you set out to create. So I'd love to hear from you how that came about and like really how you feel about this. And I'm just going to say one housekeeping thing. We are taking questions. And if you have questions as we go along, I'll try to weave them into this conversation. You can post them in the Q&A at the bottom and we'll see them. If not, we'll get to them at the end. So feel free to ask away and we'll try to get to everyone's questions. But let's start with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you know how I forget which service it was, but they're always like 3 years ago this or 4 years ago that. And I stumbled upon my launch images, and these were very like raw, put together. And on it was like something like stay beautiful, stay strong, claim your crown, or something like that. And I think, I would have probably refined that a bit, but it really did give me a lot of joy to see that continuity, that original feeling and vision that I have is really the through line in what Ranavat is and really what we have today. And so, to give everyone a sense, if you're new to the line, Ranavat, we absolutely base the treatments themselves in science. So whether it's Ayurveda or really just a bit of chemistry, really, that's kind of the backbone of skincare. But it's really understanding those finer details in terms of how is this texture going to feel and how is the treatment going to come together. And that's really for two reasons. Of course, efficacy has to be a part of it, and it absolutely is. But I really wanted this self-care moment to be a ritual. And I know that's such an overused word these days, but I think it's for good reason. I think creating a moment out of tasks that you do every single day that fill your cup and empower you, I think is such a beautiful way to live life. It's finding the beauty in those little things that you do, whether it's like washing your face, right? Like it sounds like it could be a chore, but hopefully with Ranavat, you can find a way to actually create a moment and an experience and a connection to it. And so I think what Ranavat or what we try to really bring together is that connection between you, who you are, whether it be through your heritage, through the life that you're living, into your ritual, and how we can use those, like the combination of those two, to really enhance your life. So I'm a big believer in just the way that we have our habits. The definition of ritual is a simple act of devotion. And so I am just all about having those moments and those nuggets to really sink into and indulge to carry me through.
Yeah, I think, I love that, a simple act of devotion. And I think just even that simple description in terms of creating these rituals has been we hear that a lot here in our store. We hear that a lot from our members. And just a couple days ago, somebody commented and said, washing my face used to be such a chore. And now I feel like it's such a joy with Imperial Glow, with the hero product that's in this month's discovery. So you really succeeded in your vision. And, we've talked about this before. I had, Ayurveda it's a practice of medicine.
Mhm.
And so this is really an elevated sort of form that you've really brought to us.
Yeah, and I think what I wanted, there's one thing to sort of like bring what you've seen, and I think that happens with the Kansa wand. It's something that absolutely has existed in India for thousands of years, and I'm sort of just like indulging, rediscovering, and sharing. But there are other things like just the idea of cleansing or masks that we can really like take a moment to take what we know now and elevate those. And I didn't want the medicinal nature of Ayurveda to really be where it stood. I wanted to add what I knew or I learned on top of it to find a way where we can make it more than that. And that's really where like we really try to bring those two things together.
And tell us a little bit more about the sort of feeling of royalty and how that you interpret that. You know, we did a email about Sacred Rose on Monday called the Royal Wave.
Oh, I love that.
And I mean, yes, it was the subject line of the Ranavat email we sent, and it was, interesting timing, but that's something that you've talked about from the very beginning. And, I would love to hear how, I mean, I think you've really brought that to life. Like I watch all of your content and, I think when people do use your products, they do sort of feel a little bit special, like this isn't just, this is a little bit nicer than your everyday cleanser or, your hair oil, it's got a little bit of something special to it. So
Absolutely. I mean, I think the idea of royalty, I mean, there's so many aspects of it, and I'm going to try to make it brief or concise. But one thing is when you think of the royals, one is they really elevated or valued taking care of themselves, right? And I think they like put that importance on themselves, but then also they felt the need to protect their area and really serve the people. And so I felt like that duality really kind of connected with me in terms of the way that I wanted to bring out Ranava. It's about really like filling your cup, of course, but we also feel great and we feel good when we're doing things to other people. And so that's really where the whole Claim Your Crown platform originated. So it just gives you that, yes, we're royal, we're, elevated, and we want to bring those textures and that sensorial experience. But we also know that part of being beautiful is giving back and finding ways to contribute. And so that is really where our giving partner, Desai Foundation, comes into the picture. We partner with them on the ground in India through these educational programs, and their tagline is like dreaming beyond their circumstances, which is kind of funny because like I sometimes confuse it as my tagline because I feel like it's so close to like, ruling your own destiny. And I'm like, wait, dreaming beyond your circumstances, like which one is it? And I love that. I love the fact that they're interchangeable. It just means that we're really trying to give people that sense of importance, that pride, and we do that through these educational programs. And 2% of proceeds through Ranavat sales actually goes back into those programs. So we're helping women, and we actually help men and children too. But we have a lot of like female focused programs with sanitary napkins, the sale, the production, like managing the entire process, whether it's like learning something, having like beauty training, like beauty parlor training, just giving them the skills to start their own business. And for me, that's been a really empowering moment, and how I might have claimed my crown is sort of after my 2 kids, like kind of taking what I've found and discovered through life and like kind of putting everything on the line to create this brand. I feel like we're giving that dream to others now. And so it really feels like this full circle connection, combining the idea of royalty and protecting that community and giving back, the idea of feeling beautiful when you're giving. And so it just made so much sense. And I think that's why it just continues on as our mission, because our mission isn't necessarily about selling the most products, and it just never has been. The mission and the way that we define success is how you feel out there when you're using it? Like, are we helping you feel like royalty? Are we giving you that moment of self-care that you wanted, that you just like, now you saw this on, your vanity and you were just like inclined to use it, and so we're giving you this moment? That's how we define success. And so it just completely ties the whole claim your crown and empowerment aspect of the brand.
Beautiful. Thank you. I think, I feel like it's a very sort of inclusive way about talking, about something that's really elevated and trying to bring more people into that experience. Somebody just asked a question and we answered it in the Q&A, but I think I'd love to hear you speak to it. Is Ranavat really for all ages? I think she or he said that they're 65, and is it for 40 somethings? And, I can say I'm 40, going on 48. I don't know how old you are. You're much younger than I am, I think.
This year, so.
34?
No, turning 40 this year.
Oh, you're turning 40. Okay, see, I have no concept of age, and I think, anyway, it's just a number. But in terms of the products being for different ages, how do you answer that?
I mean, I think, first of all, skincare is for everyone. I think the way that we create the treatments is really about balance. And so I think you can achieve balance at any point in your life. I think I would, let's say that, you're a teen and you have, a lot of oil production or acne. Well, I would say that that might be a result of an imbalance or wanting to balance. Or if I would say that if you are more mature skin and you have a lot of dryness, again, I would kind of say those same things. And I think the philosophy of Ayurveda doesn't have necessarily, it's sort of like a inside outside job, and it is about this idea of balancing. And I think it can get very technical in terms of pH levels and what balance means in that way. It can also mean balance in a very spiritual way in terms of how stress contributes to our aging, how environmental factors, all of those things. So I think really what I'm trying to say is there's absolutely no age limit, high or low. And in fact, one person has specifically asked me about their teen, and I'll get to more mature skin types too, but she was like, I have this teen and I don't know if I should, would your cleanser work? And what I would say is like, actually, yes. I think when we're teens, everything is out of balance, whether, it's our hormones and it's all that. And so I think having something that's like a gentle cleanse versus some of the things that we see often with like the salicylic and like just kind of throwing the kitchen sink at it and hoping that it balances along the way. Like my sort of philosophy is a bit different. It's to not kind of combat the symptoms, but it's to actually use our own sebum, our own like functioning, and like really try to create a balance and an alignment with that, because I think that's like really where most of the value is. And so it's, when we want to talk about more mature skin types, I mean, I think one of the things that Ayurveda does is helps, these adaptogens, and, we can also get into that too, but basically combating the stressors. And after going through 2020, I think we all realize like, man, stress ages us and we've got to find a way to control that. And so having something that has adaptogens in it, in addition to those other vitamins and minerals that you want in your skincare, I think it's important at any age. And I feel like the one thing that we all have to keep in mind when it comes to skincare, and this is getting a little philosophical, is I believe that skincare is an incredible tool to preserve and to enhance. It will not completely change the way that surgery would, right? Like we have to also understand at every age, this is not defying gravity. So we have to have some realistic expectations. But I think there's a lot that can be achieved in really taking good care of our skin. And the earlier that we start, the more results we'll see. Like what you're doing today is going to pay off like 5 years from now.
That's beautiful. Thank you. There's a lot of questions about ingredients and ingredient sourcing. So let's get into the nitty gritty and the incredible range of ingredients, the sourcing, And there's a few that I want you to dive into, like specifically, I think one of the most underutilized ingredients in skincare is saffron.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Radiant Rani is this beautiful serum that has two types of saffron, right? Or three?
I think it's two, Cobra saffron and regular. I think it's really the main, like the saffron that's like that helps it with the carotenoids, but there is Cobra saffron in here too.
Yeah, so I've had incredible success with saffron, like with Radiant Rani specifically, actually. So let's start with the ingredients. So if I think we can start, why don't we start with this hero product, since it's in our discovery this month and it's new, and let's talk about it and we'll go through.
Perfect. So with this one, I feel like what we're sharing is like so indulgent in terms of the ingredient deck for something that you're keeping on for not so long time. So I have a way after I get into the ingredients as to how I like to prolong the process. A cheat sheet is that many of those ingredients are also in our Eternal Rain cream. So if you really do feel compelled to keep them on longer, other than using this, I would say you can use this guy again, especially if you find this to be really kind to your skin. Similar ingredient profile in this one. So I think that might help. And then I would say the same thing with our facial polish and the cleanser. If you really like this one, the cleanser is a nice like treat as well. But to kind of get into the nitty gritty on ingredients, I mean, one thing that I'll just share before I dive in is like, why would I be qualified to talk about it, or why do I even care about ingredients? And it's because, as an engineer, I studied industrial engineering, which is really all about like process and sourcing and manufacturing and, really just industrial aspects of product development and creation. And that has always been an interest for me. But then after I got my master's, I started to work. I had a stint on Wall Street and then worked in the pharmaceutical space for 6 years. And I really discovered, you could see the same ingredient written in two different INCI lists, but the actual potency of it could be completely different. It could be, like extracted, it could be heat processed, pre-processed. And, I think it's deeper, and skincare, especially when we're really like holding on to every benefit that we can, those things matter. And so that's really where I started to see it. And I also, started in a space where it was incredibly scrutinized, right? Because you have the FDA and you're working on these, pharma projects. There's a lot of checks and balances. And then, open the world of skincare and not so much. And I think that's why Beauty Heroes exists, to be that person, that voice of reason. And so when I just had that pharma training, I really realized the importance of a good ingredient. And so that always gave me that passion and backbone to really start. And so when, if we jump to this guy, to give you guys some context, I mean, not only are we talking about, the scent, the texture and all of that, but I wanted to think about how it would work. So first of all, this is a physical exfoliator. So there's no secret that you've got to have something to exfoliate. So rice grains is what we decided, because we felt like it was that perfect balance and that Goldilocks between something that's going to work, but not, harm the skin in any way. So it's really elegant in that way. And then we wanted to layer on those adaptogens. So thinking about, ashwagandha, and really, putting in ingredients that are going to help fight the signs of stress, oxidative stress. And then we kind of layered that in with, so I love the ingredient lotus seed. I think it's just so incredible in terms of the way that it renews. And then almond oil is, of course, like when you rinse this off, actually someone had mentioned it in a video today, it's like you can really feel that. And the reason that our bases work really well, whether it's sesame, sunflower, or almond, we choose bases of our products that really mimic sebum in many ways. Like they're the same weight as our own natural oils. So the skin can kind of drink them up. They're not super thick. They're not super thin. They're really just at that same weight. And I think doing that really helps. I also think the pH is formulated to the pH of our skin. So that's another reason that I think it just helps. It's not overly acidic or stripping. So when you see and you use this product, you can get those exfoliating benefits, but it's like this lush, creamy texture, and it like flows off the skin and really just leaves like, your own, or what feels like your own oils on the surface.
It's so true. It's so true. That's such a unique quality. I love using this product in the shower uh,
Mhm.
because I can spend some time with it. I can stand in the shower for like a couple minutes and massage it in and, get it all on my neck and my chest and sort of, get messy with it.
Mhm.
So you were saying that you have a tip on how to keep it on your skin longer since it's got so many good ingredients in it.
Yes. So I like to do a nice mask with Radiant Rani and the facial polish. So what I do is I'll take like a nice amount, and you have to really be generous with the amount that you use, because what you want to do is you want to blend in, and you want to put, I want to say like, I mean, I think you can go with like when you undo, it's kind of self fills. So you can just use this amount that is kind of already automatically loaded in there. And you'll see the mixture kind of change color a little bit. That's when you know you've got the right consistency. And then you want to be very liberal on applying it. So kind of giving yourself room to then massage for about a minute, and then keep, because you want to, after the massage, you want to put enough so that there's still some remaining. And then, you just like take a moment, read your book, 10 to 15 minutes, and then rinse off, whether you do it in the shower or sink side. But it just leaves your skin like so, so beautifully glowing.
Yeah, somebody was asking, if you work with a chemist to formulate the ingredients so they work synergistically. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean,
Yeah.
you and I have talked about that. We've kind of gone through this whole process, but
No, I would love to talk about that. I mean, one of my goals for this year is absolutely doing more storytelling, because that's like something that we do not lack in terms of trying to, and I think it's almost a challenge for us. Like, how do we communicate all these things that we do? So I'm going to answer your question in explaining Radiant Rani, to kind of do two things at once. But so the way that we create this product is one, this one particularly is derived from an Ayurvedic formulation called kumkumadi oil. That has been around for a long time. We've actually edited it slightly just to kind of make it a little bit lighter and just bring it into the modern world a tinge. But we use a manufacturing place that is in India. So everything is sourced in India. We're actually performing all the manufacturing for every single product in India itself, not at all the same locations or plant, but at various. And so this one is made in around like the middle of India. And what they do is they collect all the ingredients. We do tests before we use, so we have like all the raw materials come in, we test for rancidity and like potency of every oil that's used, every herb is kind of checked, okay, is it organic, is it not? And so we run through our checklist. Then we actually use, and this is kind of the cool part, we use massive copper vessels to actually go through the traditional process of what a kumkumadi oil would be, how it would be created and how it was originally created. So, you're talking a 10-day process where they're all, the herbs are added over time, they're hand stirred. And mind you, this is all in like a clean room area. So it's this awesome, like, meshing and melding of ancient science and keeping the traditions alive that I didn't want to lose, right? Like, I don't want to lose the copper vessel. I don't want to lose the hand stirring and the way that, the ingredients are macerated, and just like there's so many different cool techniques that they use. And I want to keep that alive, but I also wanted the safety of the product to be there, right? I mean, this is going all around the world. We cannot be sidestepping that. And so there is an entire lab that does a QC. We're checking for bacteria, yeast, and mold before we're setting out. And we have an Ayurvedic doctor on staff. So to kind of answer your question on chemists, we have a whole R&D team. and we have an Ayurvedic doctor. So the R&D team is a team of chemists specifically, people that are trained in cosmetic chemistry specifically. And then we also have an Ayurvedic doctor on the team as well. And then of course, like I'm overseeing all of this and using them as sounding boards to find to make sure that, you know, the scents and the textures and like what we want to experience is also part of this whole process. So it's this really unique kind of bringing together, you know, melding of these different disciplines. But I think you need all of that in order to really be sure that you're using something that is of high quality. And we do all of the tests like before on all the ingredients, and then we're running through everything after to make sure that nothing happened during the manufacturing process too.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, but early days, I remember the products were USDA certified organic, and I was like, you know, that's hard to do, and you have to really work with good sourcing, and to get a skincare product USDA certified is like for food, and it's super strict, and there's no wiggle room. There isn't a standard like that for skincare. So if it's got that organic seal, then it's really gone through the most stringent. And you were so passionate about that. And that was one of the things that really attracted me to Ranavat, was that you really cared about sourcing ingredients. So since we're on Radiant, Ronnie, can you talk about the benefits of saffron? Because I think that this, you know, we see you applying this on Instagram, and it's so beautiful, and you massage it and use the Kansa Wand with it. But we launched it at Beauty Heroes a long time ago. And I just remember really using this product at night and waking up, you know, and using it for a week. I remember you sent me 3 versions of it.
Yes, I remember.
I was just like
toying with the formulation of it.
And I was like, this saffron is just magic. So let's talk about saffron for a second.
So I just put it on the side. I feel like you guys, I'm sorry that I'm a little blurry. We couldn't figure out why, but I hope you can still see, you know, just put a little bit on top. I always, as you know, like I'm kind of playing around with this, and
I tried doing that too. I don't apply serum like that, but I watch you on Instagram do it. So it's so funny. I'm in my bathroom like trying to Michelle Ranavat my skin.
I mean, I only did it because other people were doing it, and I got into it.
Looks so effortless. I definitely apply to my hand, and
so
then
do I. I mean,
my skin, but
it's really the most
like,
way, but
I look as cool as you when I do it. And I don't.
I'm just trying, just along like everyone else.
So beautiful.
But to get into the details, you know, Radiant Ronnie, this is my desert island. Like,
it's pretty great.
It just is for me. And I think it goes into, and I think of course this is so personal, but for me, I noticed that I get a lot of freckles. And that's really where I see like the sun damage. And I do use sunscreen. I'm great about it. I wear a hat, but that's just me and how I show age. And so for me, I wanted something that was going to even my skin tone. And when you know, of course, I was just so attracted to this idea of, you know, this miracle elixir and the story behind it and the production. I mean, of course, I was already in love. But then when I used it on my skin, and of course, like I did tweak the formula a bit to just bring it into the modern era, I really noticed a massive, massive difference. And I will tell you the reason for that. And I actually grew up using some of the standard, you know, I won't name the name, but like it's probably the most widely used vitamin C serum out there, and that has existed for a long time. And what I noticed is that half the time I would use it, it would oxidize on me. And I would like already when I was taking it out of the dropper, it'd be brown. And so I didn't think anything of it. But as I started to learn more and more about how vitamin C works, I realized, man, this thing is so unstable, and it just like will turn on a dime. And so when it oxidizes, just in case you want more information on it, it just means that the active properties are not there anymore. So you're just using the serum to use it, but the vitamin is dead essentially. So I was thinking like, man, and then when I saw the way that this works, you know, it's the carotenoid. So this beautiful color, it does actually have vitamin C in it, but really what a carotenoid does, and it's in turmeric and saffron, what it does is it actually helps brighten through that way. So it's, I think a lot of times when we think of vitamin C, it's almost like, oh, I'll be there, I'm taking an Uber. It's like you're taking rideshare, but you're saying Uber. When you're saying like, oh, I got to put on my vitamin C, I think what you're saying is you're putting your brightening or skin tone even product. You're not necessarily talking about the actual vitamin C, because you can brighten without vitamin C. I mean, not to say that, this does have vitamin C in it naturally, but I think carotenoids are a much smarter way to brighten, because in my mind, when you think of brightening, half the time we need brightening is because we have inflammation on our skin. So a lot of it's like post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. We had a spot, now we're dealing with the aftermath on like, forever trying to get that skin to turn over. Well, what if we had something that could brighten but also calm inflammation? And that's really where what a carotenoid is. Turmeric widely known to help with inflammation. Same with saffron for those same reasons. So it helps brighten, and it helps the calm inflammation. So what you're doing is, you're already preventing the spot from happening either too much or at all, which I think is a huge benefit. So you see the results a lot, kind of like steadier, because you're not getting the new acne. I think sometimes with just a regular old vitamin C, you're just kind of whack-a-moling like the spots that you're getting. But what about if we didn't do that and we took a step back and thought about how we could prevent those spots, or really just lessen the darkness of them by hitting it with that anti-inflammatory right away? And so that's what I think it makes this serum really beautiful. And then the next reason that I think it's like, we can't really talk about, these, especially when we're thinking about like aging gracefully and, the products that we want to use, we have to think about the impact of stress on our skin, like I had mentioned before. And so this has a lot of adaptogens in it as well to help our bodies cope with stress. And I don't mean like, yes, being stressed out, of course, that's part of it, but even like environmental damage too. Yeah. And that's, again, has to be part of the story when you're thinking of vitamin C. And then lastly, I touched upon the fact that, this is a little bit more stable than your typical, that's why we can actually have it in this type of clear glass, versus, having to keep it in the dark glass as we had before. And then lastly, I would say just, in terms of like sun damage and protecting your skin against the sun, like I know this personally because for me, it's like the biggest thing that I'm trying to control always. But vitamin C does like cause sun sensitivity. You have to be careful if you're using that. And if you're using a retinoid, like there is some sun sensitivity involved. And so this sesame oil is actually known to help protect. I would never say that it would ever take the place of an SPF, but at least it's not, making you more susceptible to the sun. So I think that's also
botanicals have their natural UV protection in them, but
absolutely.
yeah, but you can't make a claim about an SPF claim about it, but it's,
No.
they absolutely do. The carotenoids do. So this is the product that you use with your Kansa Wand.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's talk about, since you've got it on your skin, if you've got your Kansa Wand, you're probably an expert. There's really, what I love about this tool is there's really no way to mess it up. It's, it's round, it's, it's got no hard edges. So, you could, give it to your teen, you can, use it on somebody else if you want to. I always think about like if you have a grandparent and you want to give them a little facial or something like that. But you also can just use it, and you also don't have to be super careful about it. You can just kind of sit and, massage and kind of go with it. So let's talk about why don't you share with us the background on it and show us some of your technique.
So the beautiful thing about the Kansa Wand, like Jeannie said, no need for real like knowledge. I think the biggest thing you need to think about is your intuition and how it feels when you're using it, and like really where you see yourself gravitating, right? Like for example, a lot of people hold tension here, so you really want to make sure that you're doing that. I would say that a couple of things that I would keep in mind. One is you want to like really avoid the downward stroke, because I think ideally we're focusing on lifting. This is not a contouring like tool in any way. Like this is not meant to do that, like sculpting or lifting. This is actually meant to balance the skin and like actually putting copper on your skin, because copper is incredible for healing, repairing. Um, Copper and Kansa is actually the Indian word for copper and tin, which just means Kansa. So it's really the type of metal. It's a bell metal. It has a beautiful resonance to it. That's like the woo part of it. It's what's in the Tibetan gongs. So it has this like awesome resonance and history. It's known to be one of the purest metals. So there's no lead content. And if you've ever seen in South Asia, some of the temples, they have little I'm trying to think of the English word, like little things that you put your candle in. Candle, I don't know. There's an Indian word for it. I can't think of the English word, but Devo. And what you do is you put like the wick in it and you light it, and it's an offering to the gods, or it's just a way to like pray. And that's made of Kansa. So a lot of the metals that are used even in the temple are Kansa because of its purity. So that's kind of the brief history. It also has an alkaline property to it. So prior to actually being used as a facial tool, what they actually discovered is that it aided in overall balancing, which, you're hearing that word again on purpose. What it does is if you drink out of a Kansa glass, you are actually drinking alkaline water, because it actually helps balance the pH of the water. If you're eating off of a plate that has Indian food on it, or any food really, like imagine you have tomatoes, right? And that has a lot of acidity, but you're eating it on this Kansa plate. It's balancing those foods so they're easier for you to digest. So as I like get to the face, you're sort of seeing those ideas or properties and like how they can help you in skin. So the first one is, I think like the biggest benefit is just touching this on your skin. So if I have inflammation, and copper's naturally anti-inflammatory, it just heals your skin. If I have a spot, I just do like a treatment with Radiant Rani, just kind of putting it on there. And I'm sorry that you can't see it so clearly, but what I do is I have it on here and I just start massaging it. And you want to make sure that you're not pulling or pushing, you've got to have that slip. A common question
Tell people at home, feel free to join in and Kansa Wand with Michelle. This is your chance.
Absolutely. This is like my favorite thing to do. You've got to have that slip. And then the other thing is technically, so we have different marma or energy points throughout our body, right? And you have different chakras, like there's whole lots of different energies in your body. They trigger different things. You guys can actually already see some grayness. I'm going to actually get this gray. We'll show you guys how it is. But anyway, the idea is to massage and balance through these marma points of your face. Now, if you're like, I don't know what a marma point is, you can look it up. There's different ones. They're kind of all over. You can also just kind of let go of that and just enjoy the journey and like really take time to, massage. And by the way, so you want to start on clean skin. I did not have clean skin. I actually had makeup on before I did this. So it's kind of cheating. I'm getting this gray slightly by cheating because I did have something on, and that actually will always oxidize the wand, like it'll oxidize on your face. But it is actually nice that I can quickly show you, because sometimes either I won't get gray, which is completely fine. That's a question that I get asked a lot. Don't worry, you're balanced. This is still an amazing massage for you, and it still has its healing properties, so you don't have to worry about that. If you do not get gray, do not worry, it's still doing something. And then the second thing I will say is, when you get this, you do it. It's funny because I notice that certain times of the month I'll have more grayness, certain times where I'm more stressed, I'll have grayness. But this does take more time. Like I did it in a flash today because I mentioned my skin wasn't clean. But don't worry, like if yours doesn't happen like mine, I think it probably would take maybe about 10 to 15 minutes. You do have to have some elbow grease and some time for this. This is not a like zip thing.
And how do you contrast the Kansa Wand with a gua sha tool? Does it benefit your you know, how do you, I'm sure you get that question.
And Jade Roller too. I think that they're all, every tool I think has its history and its purpose. I'm just going to wipe this off to show you guys this is not a permanent thing. Every tool has its purpose, and I think you know, I'm not trained in that particular in those, but I can definitely say that like I see, you know, the gua sha and it's like sculpting and like the way that they really like, you know, push and pull and like move the blood flow and the energy in the face. I mean, it's so, so beautiful. And I think that has a particular, you know, reason. And I think it's more like that chiseling and that sculpting, whereas this isn't going to do that. Same with the jade roller. I think like the jade, I think has some beautiful properties to it. I also think, you know, you can kind of, you know, roll, some people put it over a certain mask. Like there's different creative ways to use a jade roller. I feel like that is more like just the baseline of like circulation happening. Then gua sha is like the sculpting. And then I think, you know, Kansa is really more the healing, anti-inflammatory, and balancing is the word that I would use. And so again, I'm not trained in all of those, but I would say that like, I think every tool has its purpose and its tradition and its history behind it. And so I think just like kind of taking a moment to figure out, okay, like the Kansa Wand, you know, maybe it's, you can't expect like sculpting with something that's not meant to do it, but you can expect balancing and, you know, really just like creating, I especially notice it like the healing with breakouts or hormonal breakouts and things like that.
And you can bring the Kansa wand down to like the neck and the shoulders and yeah, and to the, you know, the back of the neck. It feels so good. And is, you know, that whole act of, I mean, like you said, taking these rituals, these, you know, simple moments for devotion are stress relieving, and they have a, you know, like a holistic benefit on your skin as well.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to show us just some of your, can you show us a few ways that you use the Kansa wand that maybe just wouldn't be super obvious to us?
Well, I can give you different circumstances. So definitely like, you know, looking at your phone like this, you always want to do the opposite of the action that you're like repeating to like stretch it out and to like get it out of your body. So if you're like this, then kind of leaning back and like elongating this muscle that you are shortening is a really nice way to kind of reduce tension. I love that. In terms of the face, I would say like figure eights here is a really nice one, just kind of like in the middle, just because I feel like we scrunch a lot. I mean, at least I do. It's like, that's something that I'm like, wait, I got to stop doing that. So just kind of relaxing and reminding yourself to do that. I would say here, a lot of people, the TMJ and just like the clenching of the jaw, like that's important. And that's a nice way to kind of do circular motions. Lastly, I would just touch up, oh, I have a hack. So I take an ice cube and I put it on the wand. So the wand is like, it kind of warms up and gets melty with the serum, which is really like fun. And I think it just gives this, it's like beautiful, I don't know, it just like warms everything up and you feel that circulation. But sometimes I like to cool it down. I don't put it in the refrigerator because what that does is like the teak wood, that kind of, it would not preserve well. So what you want to do is you want to like, you know, put the ice cube on here, kind of keep it on, get it nice and cold. And then I use it for my under eye. Oh my gosh, it just feels so incredible. Like just like that, psh, and that like is a nice depuffing. So you get that depuffing.
Everybody at home, run and grab your ice cubes.
I know, run at home, get your ice cube, depuff. And then, you know, I kind of do that. And then what I do is Radiant Ronnie has been like amazing for my under eyes. So I think with under eyes, there's a lot of different things that could be going on. One is puffiness. So like we're going to solve that with the ice cube. If you are not sleeping at night and you woke up and you've got to get on a Zoom to look presentable, ice cube it up and kind of go like this. Then the second thing I would say is about circulation. You know, sometimes we just see that darkness, it's not puffiness, and, you know, puffiness, again, ice cube, if it's darkness, you want to get that circulation going. So kind of using that copper, the manjistha in here, it really gets the circulation going, you know, that's going to solve that problem. And then in terms of brightening, that's where, of course, this comes in. So there's like different issues. I think under eye is a very complicated situation because there's a couple of different things at play, but I can say with these two and an ice cube, you can cover all three of them.
And how many times do you sort of recommend people use their Kansa Wand every week? Is this something you're using every day at home yourself?
No, I definitely don't do it every day. I don't think if you do it every day, I think that's totally fine. This is not like an exfoliation or exfoliating treatment where you have to worry about that. I just, frankly, I enjoy it more as like a once a week thing. And I would say you just have to have the time. Like if you have 10 to 15 minutes every day, then you should do it and you want to do it, great. If I would say don't like carve 5 minutes and do it 3 times. Like I'd rather you do it one time for 15, because sometimes you just see the benefit after like really getting, that circulation going, getting that. It's kind of like a workout. Like if you just did, 2 minutes a day, every day, it's like, well, what if you could like chunk that together and get like, there's something to say with like,
Right up. Yeah.
Right? So that's what I would say about the wand.
Yeah, we have somebody who's commenting saying that they say that the time that you use your Kansa Wand is kind of critical. Like getting 15 minutes is when you start to really see the benefit.
I would agree with that.
How do you clean the Kansa Wand?
So it's naturally antibacterial. So literally what I do is I just go like this and I set it. And then you could even put it in the box that you received it in too, as like a nice storage, because I think the main thing, like this is nice because like if you have your oils, like your natural oils, or especially if you're like touching Radiant Rani, it's totally fine. It conditions the wand. I just wouldn't go all out on soap and water, especially on here. And if you're worried about contamination on this part, first of all, I wouldn't really be, but you can apply, a little spot of tea tree oil and just kind of rub it around and then you're good to go.
Great. You mentioned manjistha, that's in Radiant Rani. It's also in Sacred Rose.
Yes.
And is it in Eternal Rain as well?
No, I don't think it is.
So it's in Sacred Rose. So let's talk about that ingredient, because I love learning about new ingredients, and I learned about that ingredients from you. So tell us about manjistha.
So it's this beautiful, it's almost looks like a cinnamon stick, I want to say. It's like a root and it's really, really red. I love it because it's almost like a caffeine, I guess I would compare it to. It like boosts circulation. And what happens when you boost circulation is, one, I love that like the whole glow from within concept is really just that. It's about boosting your circulation. But I think it also just like helps clear out. And I want to say like remove toxins, because I don't think it's like toxic stuff that it's clearing out from your, skin, but it's really just like, hey, let's get that fresh oxygenated blood going. That's always going to be better. And manjistha is really good for that. People actually used to use it as like a liver cleanser. So if you like drank too much the night before, get some manjistha, and it helps with it. So it's really about like getting that circulation going. Detoxing is a huge part of manjistha. People take it as a supplement too.
So I have a question. This is actually my question for you, because I am in love with Sacred Rose hand cream. And it is in this month's Discovery, but I really I have so many hand creams. I do. And this one really nails it for me. And it's been winter here. And one of the things that I've really noticed is every time I put it on, I feel like my hands warm up. And I'm wondering if it's because it's stimulating some circulation.
It
in my head,
I think that definitely could be a part of it. And I also think like what really, like I'm a bit of I don't know, I've always been into like hand creams for whatever reason. I'd always have like some type of lotion that I was using. So I always notice like, what is it that makes it feel like you're wearing a glove? And I kind of wanted that to be there. I didn't want it to be like greasy necessarily, but I also didn't want it to like go away. And I think what I noticed is that some creams, they feel really good and you think that they're absorbed, but what happens is they actually evaporate because they have a pretty higher, like a higher alcohol content in them. So they kind of like feel like it's absorbing, but kind of like, and then it kind of dries you out a little bit more. And
Mhm.
so what I was playing around with is really creating a formulation that was weighted towards the oils and the indulgencies, on like making sure that it was high quality, so it didn't leave a grease. It's like using a good oil that's gonna, I think in this one we're using sesame and almond too. I have to check the ingredient list, but they're really like good oils. And so it just feels really native to the skin, and it coats it like really nice and gently. And so I think that's kind of part of it too. And it could be the manjistha, because that is what it does and it's in there. But I think like the beauty of the cream is like that combination of really like, yeah, giving you that like warming feeling, but then also not completely disappearing in 2 seconds.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but every time I put that hand cream on, I feel like it, my hands all of a sudden, they're not only moisturized and feel really good, but they feel warmer. And
Mhm.
so I've just been grabbing this tube really all day long, and I have one in my purse, and it is such a pretty tube, and it's such a, the scent of it is that beautiful rose from the Pushkar region of
Mhm.
India, and that you so beautifully described. And it's really a pretty product, but I just think it's a product that really performs well. And so um, I love that it's as good on the inside as it is on the outside.
Absolutely. I think the only commentary that I've heard is like, you need to make it in a bigger size. So I will be working on that. I was thinking of this as like an on the go thing. And I didn't think about like when it's by your desk side, like how quickly, like I love having it. Like if I read a book and have my tea at the end of the day, like after I try to do a workout at night, and then I'm just like, have my moment. And I love just having my hand cream there. Like it's like a cozy moment, right? You have your like warm beverage, you have your book. And so, but I like actually grab it a lot during the process. I'm like, man, I'm like going through this thing. So I'm like, I'm on that same boat. That's like the only thing I would say is like, I actually want more.
Yeah, I think, yeah, we've definitely heard that. So let's talk about hair oil and amla, which I think there's 3 ingredients in this hair oil and serum, and they're amazing. It's amazing what really high quality, right concentration, and the right ingredients can do for a product. And I just love that. It smells amazing from the beautiful jasmine. It's got sunflower oil, which is really light, so it doesn't feel super heavy. And then it's got amla in it. So tell us about amla. And it's a traditional Indian gooseberry. So that has been used for centuries for hair and hair growth and hair strengthening. And yeah, I think it's a miracle ingredient.
Thank you. I mean, I love amla. I mean, I think if I were to take you guys on a field trip and we went to India, like you would see these like billboards with like big hair, and it would be like amla oil, So I think if you go to India, like this is what they really believe in for stronger, longer, healthier hair. I mean, it just is like that type of ingredient. And I think for really good reason, because we're getting into like vitamin C and amla, but really like we think of our hair as a lot of times as an afterthought, but it's really like skin. It ages too. It needs love and attention as well. And I think a lot of that comes from our scalp. And that's again where like jasmine, amla, and sunflower come in. You're nourishing the scalp as you put it in. Then what you do is the amla, like really, if you again massaging, so you've got to take it and really, really massage the hair. I mean, I can do like a little bit of a demo here, but like what you would do. And sorry, I'm going to turn on a light here because it's getting kind of dark. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, now
Sorry.
you can properly tell me.
I was just going to show everybody that this is the 3rd product in this month's discovery, and it's in this beautiful like smoke colored glass. It's so pretty. And I actually hear my husband wears this. Kevin's husband wears this. Does your husband like?
Oh my God. He actually has a whole ritual around it. So I'm just going to talk about it as I do my hair. But he actually does it. He'll put it on at night. And then he usually works out in the morning. And so he actually says that he likes when he's working out and like the heat in his body like activates the jasmine scent. So he's like, I'm running on my treadmill and then I just like feel the smell of the jasmine reignited. And then he's like gonna shower after that anyway and shampoo his hair. So he just like loves it. It's kind of his nighttime. And I think with guys, honestly, like, or even women with shorter hair, you know, it's a lot easier to do the rinse off. So it's actually easier to integrate it in your routine more often. Whereas like for me with this, I really like, I wash my hair less. I wash my hair once a week. So I do it once a week. Whereas like my husband and Neil can do it, you know, 2 to 3 times a week because he just, you know, he's washing it every day.
And you can also, I mean, it's not just, you don't have to just use it on the hair. You can use it sort of as a scent. I mean, it's a beautiful body oil. You can add it to your body cream or body lotion if you love it, as much as, you know, I mean, if you fall in love with this, there's more than one way to use this product.
I know
Besides,
when we launched it, it was actually a hair and body oil. And then we kind of dropped it. And then I was like, oh, should I bring it back as a hair and body? And it was just so good. And I think we just decided to keep it as hair just because it's just easier to share those benefits, because I think that the point that I want to get across tonight is like, you know, if you have finer hair, if you have thicker hair, if you don't have hair, whatever your situation is, doing a leave-in treatment for your scalp and for your hair is really important, and it helps. I think this idea of massaging, you know, my dad doesn't have any hair. This is his favorite product, and he's always massaging it on his head. And I think it's important. You've got to get that circulation going. So even if you have finer hair and you're nervous about how the oil is going to feel, don't worry. You're going to shampoo it out. You want it to be, got to embrace the grease a little bit with this. There's no like way around it. But I'm not saying you have to like go out on the town either. You know, you can do this at home, just overnight. You don't have to, or even a couple hours if you want to leave it in for that long.
so if you're going to do it overnight, you would massage it into your scalp before you went to sleep, like Michelle's showing it right now, and you want to really get it all over the place. I mean, amla, from what I learned about it, it was really used that ingredient was used traditionally to help with hair growth, right? To increase circulation.
Absolutely, to increase hair growth. And I think when you combine that with the scalp massage, they kind of work hand in hand in terms of the circulation needs to be there. But when it does, and you've got the amla, it strengthens. And I actually created the product and really came up with like, okay, wanting to use amla in my hair oil because of course it's well known in India. But because I was dealing with a lot of postpartum hair loss, and I lost a lot of hair just like through, I mean, it was like, I think my like scalp was like back here. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it felt like that. I definitely didn't have like all this hair here. And so I was really desperate to kind of figure out. And of course, you know, my mom was like, amla's the answer. And so, yeah, I really looked into like, how do I create the most like luxurious, potent amla formulation? And I used it, and it like literally did work. And I really think, and anytime I go, I mean, this is like pre-COVID, but like I used to get, you know, go to like the dry bar or something before an event, and they'd always ask me if I had extensions on. And I'm like, no, I don't have it. This is like literally my hair. And they'd be like, really? And you're like 40 almost? Like it just, and honestly, I think they would be even more shocked if they saw that like how it was prior, like literally balding throughout here, like they would not have believed me. And so I really think it's like, because I really take care of my hair, and I do spend the time to, and this is just, I just did the top right now. Like you have to go through the entire length of the hair, get the ends, leave it in. And I actually think it does protect my hair in the shower too. Like when and then the shampoo, you've got to shampoo it all out. That's the important part.
Right. And then you can use a few drops though to when you're blow drying your hair. Yes. And to like smooth it so that it there's, you know, to kind of tame the frizz too. So absolutely. Just like a tiny bit, right?
Yeah, and I think Jeannie, like you and I can use it a little more liberally, and I think you have to just kind of know your hair type. If you have finer hair, maybe you reserve it as an overnight treatment. Maybe you're just putting a tinge. Maybe you're just using it on your body as a different purpose. So really, like take that into consideration, and also be careful with how much you use. If you are using it on dry hair, like that really depends on just how thick or coarse your hair is.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of comments that this product changed people's hair and that the smell is so amazing. It has this beautiful jasmine scent. And I just want to talk about jasmine for a minute because there was a point that I was really studying jasmine. There are a lot of clinical studies about jasmine and the benefits that it has on skin. It's an amazing ingredient for skin. And it's also got these they studied it as really an uplifting scent, that it had
Yeah.
like effect on mood. They used it on patients with depression. So I just really think about every time I use jasmine tonique. So since we're on jasmine, this is just jasmine hydrosol for the skin.
Yeah, it's just 100%. And I think, you know, a little nudge to the folks with sensitive skin. I would say a lot of, you know, I can't blanket anything because everyone has like different sensitivities, but you know, if you are not allergic or sensitive to jasmine, there should like this is a no-brainer because what it is just pure jasmine flowers, and it just like think of you drenching yourself in like actual jasmine flowers, like a queen. Like that's really what this product is. I think it actually even makes a great gift because you don't have to worry about someone's skin sensitivity. Is it going to work? Do they have this product or not? And actually, I think about it a lot because jasmine is a way that the royals, and now like it's kind of customary, like they would greet people in their house. Like they would put like a pot full of like night blooming jasmine in water, and it just like kind of fills the air with this like beautiful fragrance. And like you said, it is really uplifting. It's also a symbol of love because it also, I think in the same way it's uplifting, it's also an aphrodisiac. So that's kind of, it gives you like that love vibe. And single women in India will put like a gajra, which is like a little strand of jasmine flowers in their hair to symbolize that they're single, to like attract the men or women or whoever. And it just is like kind of fun and
They do that in
cheeky.
Hawaii too. They do that. They
With
have that
jasmine?
like, no, with a flower, like I think it's, depending on which ear you put it behind,
Mhm.
will signify that you're available.
Yes, exactly.
I
So
don't know.
like,
I don't think people do. I mean, yeah, I don't know if they do that anymore. It's been a long time, but when I lived in Hawaii, we definitely, but I was young then and available.
I mean,
Put
I think
flowers behind both ears.
I know, I agree. I mean, I think the thing in India too is that like I don't think many people in the big cities are probably rocking it. I mean, I feel like maybe, you know, like traditional weddings or things.
Sure.
It's still alive so much in just like the cultural aspect of it. And then it's actually used a lot in religious ceremonies too. But I just, yeah, I think it's such a combination of, you know, one, it's good for the skin because it's incredibly hydrating and just a moisture delivery device. Like if you want to just think of it plainly like that, because rose hydrosol, I mean, you know, I love rose. I had a rose mist, but rose is a little more astringent. So that's going to control oil a little bit more. This is really just like pure unadulterated hydration. So I think it's just such a beautiful step. One, it gets you like, you feel good. And then I like that you're building the layers. And I like to do, you know, kind of like a mist sandwich approach where you're misting your jasmine. You go in with the Radiant Rani, you mist again, and then you layer on top with Eternal Rain. And it just gives you like, I don't know, it just really seals in the moisture at every single level. And I love how it does that. I'll put some of this on too, so you can see.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. We have gone over, which I'm not upset about at all. I want to say there are a few Ranavat discoveries left if anybody has been on the fence, and it's a great way to discover 3 of Michelle's like incredible products. It's Imperial Glow, Mighty Majesty, and Sacred Rose. And you can join us and we'll send it out, tomorrow to you. And then I want to get into just some last minute questions. We had some really good questions. I want to thank everybody who joined in tonight. If you have any last minute questions, we'll try to get to all of them. But, if not, we can always answer over DM for you. But Jocelyn asked, I love the scent of the feel of the cream cleanser, but I noticed that my sensitive skin reacted with redness. Is there any way I can temper the cleanser so I can reduce that redness?
I wonder if they've tried Radiant Rani. I feel like it's the manjistha. I know that if I leave the cleanser on a long time, because I've tried that before, and it does flush my skin, it's like a temporary flush. So I think it really depends on, is it a temporary flush that you're getting from the manjistha that just kind of goes away because it just does increase your circulation, or if it actually is irritation and maybe you could be sensitive to it. I think it honestly really depends on that.
This is Luminous Ceremony. It has that ingredient that we talked about, manjistha, and it's a cleanser. And so it doesn't have the rice hulls that Imperial Glow has. And it's like this frosting cleanser. We featured it as it's our last year's Ranavat Hero product. And it smells incredible. So I can see why Jocelyn wants to continue using it. But it might just be some of the manjistha, right?
Yeah, and I think if it's a temporary flush, I actually kind of think that's normal. But if it's not something you're into, that I totally get that. But I think if it's like a prolonged redness or itchiness, that's what I would be most concerned with. And I think it depends on your skin type. Like I think for darker skin, like on my skin type, like I think the redness is going to show differently than say, a different skin type. So I think there's just that, and it really could be the factor. And maybe you want to, I think if you've tried the facial polish and see that it works for you, I wonder if you just kind of use this instead, or just keep this on for a bit, like a super flash, and see if it works.
Great. What products do you recommend for oily and acne prone skin?
I know people probably get annoyed if I say this, but I actually write the line is really made in a way where it's balancing. So like if you're dry, we have, treatments that will hydrate, but if you're oily, it's not like the oils that we use, as I know I said this before, but they're really close to our own sebum. So they're not going to overproduce. I think what happens when people have oily skin is that you're told to use a lot of stripping products. And then what happens is you're stripping the natural oils along with your oils. And then your skin actually wants to produce more. And so I actually really think if you're super oily, maybe don't use Eternal Rain yet. Start with Radiant Rani and the Kansa Wand. Really try to balance your skin, see if that works. And then sometimes people that have oily skin, sometimes they have drier patches. So maybe use this on the cheeks if you're drier in this area and kind of avoid it here. You can kind of customize those application methods. But really I think someone with oily skin should not be using a stripping cleanser, because I think it's just going to give you more oil. So that's why I think a pH that's close to your skin is going to be the way to go.
Great. And I'm going to combine two questions in one. For when you're using Mighty Majesty as an overnight treatment, how many pumps are you using, and how do you keep it from getting on your pillowcase?
Okay, so I probably use a lot of pumps, guys. And I think, again, it's really I cannot prescribe a certain number of pumps to people because it really depends on the thickness and length of your hair. In terms of pillowcase, I again would say the same thing. I didn't show you guys, I didn't put it all over here, but even when I have it here, it doesn't actually get on my pillowcase. It really doesn't. It sticks with my hair. I would say, let's be safe, put something down on your pillow for the night the first time you do it, see if there's anything there. I've honestly never noticed anything, but again, I don't know if I have your particular hair type. So just be cautious and test it out and see, but I have not heard of people having concerns with it staining their pillowcase at all.
I'm going to say that it doesn't, my skincare, a little bit gets on my pillowcase. And these products, you know, like Mighty Majesty, I feel like is good for my skin. It doesn't like concern me. I don't worry about that. But I think also you can just have a pillowcase maybe that you use if you're concerned about it at all, or if you want to use more oil, is like get like a not so fancy pillowcase and just put it on that night if you're going to do it like a treatment.
Exactly. Or put a towel down or something that's still
yeah.
cozy.
Okay, so just a couple more questions. Are the products Cosmos certified organic, or can you speak to the organic certification?
Yeah, it's USDA certified organic. So in the US, we have that certificate. This is, I'm specifically only talking about Mighty Majesty and Jasmine Mist. We use a company called EcoCert to do our certifications, and that happens at the farm level in India, which allows us to then bring it in. EcoCert is like, actually, I think they do Cosmos certification. So I really think, no, it's not officially certified, but it would absolutely meet their criteria in terms of being organic.
Great, thank you. And then somebody wants to know your specific AM and PM ritual. Run us through it.
Okay, so AM, now sometimes I honestly don't cleanse in the morning. That's the real truth. And sometimes I do. I usually don't cleanse the reason for that is I haven't seen it impacted my skin at all. And I always do my nighttime routine. So I'll just say that, but occasionally I will use the Luminous Ceremony cleanser, kind of just freshen up. If I am cleansing that day, what I then do, regardless of anything, is I absolutely mist, and I don't have my mist next to me, but I'll use a jasmine mist. On damp skin, I'll put the serum on. Then depending on the weather, if the weather is like chilly, I'll actually layer this on, and it gives me this beautiful sheen. And then I actually have this next to me. I use the sunblock. Now this isn't, I think Jeannie can give you more Beauty Hero recommendation sunscreens, because this one is not available in the US, but I'll put a sunscreen on. Then, so evening time, so 3 to 4 times a week, I swap out my cleanser with this. And I love doing this evening time because I then can take a few moments to really one, when you're working on a clean slate, you're not worried about things that are going to clog your pores in terms of the dry skin. This just kind of cleans everything. And it just gives me this super soft complexion on which I then build all the layers to kind of keep myself hydrated or oiled up for the night. I do sleep with the humidifier. I think that's an amazing little tip or step, because AC can be drying, heat can be drying, just all times of the year. Let's try to keep that moisture going. So I'll use this. So either, if it's not the 3 to 4 times a week, I use this, but non-negotiable is the cleanse. And then, really the whole routine is non-negotiable. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm a double cleanser when I have makeup on. If I'm staying home all day and I'm not putting makeup on, a single cleanse is fine. But other than that, I have to double cleanse. So this is like a 1-2 for me.
Yeah, I know. I actually really love that too. And I think that's a beautiful suggestion. And Luminous Ceremony, someone had asked if it does remove.
They don't want to know my skincare routine, yours. I was just sharing that because I do think they go so well together. And it's you use Luminous Ceremony, you're like, that was really great. And then you're like, ooh, now I get to use seconds. This is really fun.
And I've absolutely done that too. And I love that. Just the layers and just creating that ritual in the evening. So once I cleanse, I do the mist sandwich thing again. So I'll mist. But what I do at night that's a little bit different is because, I live in LA, it's pretty warm all the time. Sometimes it's getting to 70s, 80s, even in the winter months. Okay. So I don't I think at night is my time where I really actually layer stuff on. So I'll put, the mist, I'll go in generously with Radiant Rani, and I'll just take a moment, and whether I'll do, I'll brush my teeth or I'll do something else, and then I'll come back. And then once I see it set in, I do another mist. and then I put Eternal Rain on. And then, you know, I just am a little more liberal with how much I use. One, because I know I'm not putting a sunblock on top of it, so I have a little more room to play with. And two, I need to keep it for 8 hours, like on the skin, like in maybe whether it's AC or heat, I need to like protect it. So I am a little more generous. So it's really the same treatments. I don't use a separate eye cream, although, you know, got a lot of requests for developing one. I just use Eternal Rain. I use Radiant Rani first and foremost, but we're talking after Radiant Rani. I'll just put some under the eye as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Michelle. This has been so fun and so informative. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. I know there might be some lingering questions in the chat. Feel free to DM either Beauty Heroes or Ranavat. And we are going to be sharing this recording. It was so informative. So if you have a friend that you know will appreciate this or couldn't make it tonight or is in a different time zone that couldn't make it, you'll be able to share this with them. Or if you want to come back to it and watch it over again, we'll be sharing this. So thank you, Michelle, for your generosity and for creating these beautiful products and these royal rituals for us and helping us to elevate these simple moments of devotion.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys spending your evening with me. And thank you, Jeannie, and the entire Beauty Heroes team for allowing us to be your hero. We love it. We're here for it.
Yay. So have a good night, everybody. Go Kansa Wand now.
Yes, exactly. You can join.